effective in whatever it is we do. But often it's anything but that. And this kind of stress can build up over the days. It could drag on for a period of weeks. And that's what typically happens during the summer. Some of the sources of stress, of course, can be money. Because if you're traveling, you have issues with affordability. You know, how can I afford to get that plane ticket or that hotel or that cruise or whatever it is? Buying clothing, giving tips, all of these things. Eating out, which is something we end up doing a lot on vacation because we may not have access to a grocery store or a kitchen in which to cook on our own food, which would be less expensive. So we often end up having to go out to eat, and that's another expense. So, you know, vacations can become costly. Being in unfamiliar places. Now, that's something that stresses me. Some people love that. But others have a hard time, you know, getting used to, you know, different environments. You know, if you're traveling abroad, different countries, disruptions to your regular routine, and the change of diet. All of these things are elements. So, what are some symptoms of that you might be having some stress-related issues on your vacation or around your vacation? Headaches, nausea, upset stomach, bowel problems, headaches, worrying, feeling tired and unsettled, poor sleep or lengthy sleep periods, and irritability. Many people would simply prefer not to take a vacation at all, and that actually feels a huge burden lifting when the vacation is over. So, if those things kind of resonate with you, you probably have an issue with vacation stress. And whatever it is for you, your particular trigger for vacation stress, is something that you think about. Because that's the first step in actually managing this stress. It's figuring out the things that really get to you and that you dread. And I hear you out. I can hear you out there. People saying everything you just said are my stressors. Everything you just said. But that's actually a part of the problem, and that's not going to help you because you now have become so stressed because of your experiences over whatever period of time. That just the thought of vacation becomes a symbol of the distress. And it's hard to even think about the details. But if you can, take that step back, break it down, and go into the stress for a minute. Know that you're in a safe environment, and you can do this through meditation or just through quiet time, if you will. But take a look at the things that actually are the stressors. And try to remember, if you can, that your highest self is creating it all. And part of the task for you to do Part of the reason it was created is for you to break this down so you can find out what those stressors are. So, what is it that really gets to you? Is it the disruption of the routine? Is it the change of diet? Is it the unfamiliar locations? Is it family-related stress? Maybe you're bringing the kids along, or you're traveling with relatives and they get on your nerves. Maybe it's money, worrying about how you're going to afford everything. Break it down and figure out which, I mean, it doesn't have to be just one thing, but prioritize if you can. See if you can create a hierarchy. What gets to you the most, and if you have a list of things, try to pinpoint which ones you feel hit them the most. Now, once you have that list, work out how these things affect you. What do you do? How do you react? Are you getting angry? Are you sulking? Do you get a headache, a migraine? Do you drink and smoke more to self-medicate? And once you've taken a look at that, you can target maybe just one of those issues and see about changing them. Now, I know you may have a huge list in front of you if you're doing this. A pile of outstanding issues that won't go away. But what you'll need to do is sort of, as I'm talking about, that higher perspective, reframe the way you view this particular situation and the way you react to it. Now, particularly important if you have listed, in your list, unhealthy responses such as anger, or eating more, or drinking more. Those are very important issues to focus your change on. So, if I were you, and you have those issues, if that's something that happens, that might be where you want to put your target, because that can put you in physical peril, if you will. And it can create more problems for you. So, changing the perspective is what needs to happen when we're stressed. And whatever it is we're stressed by. Just as I was talking about at the beginning of the show. If it's, the latest news and information that you're hearing, or the thought of another trip to the Bahamas with your in-laws. Okay. Changing that perspective is important. If we're feeling stressed, it's probably an indicator that we have a distorted perspective. And it comes out of an emotional connection or investment. So, once you reach the point where you're feeling those emotions and they sort of top out, that actually is the place where the jumping off point, where you can actually get to mindfulness, get to a sort of detached or neutral perspective. And you can begin thinking about different ways of responding to a situation. And you can get to that by taking a look at that situation in a different way, that you've actually brought this about. Not you, little you, but from the higher you has brought this about for you to respond to and reconnect. And actually expand and become more of who and what you are and who and what you would like to be. Now, one of the things that you can do when thinking about these stressors is, our favorite technique on this show, which is your breathing meditation. If you're someone who's been trying to put meditation into their lives but having trouble, the 4-7-8 breath is a good place to start. And it's very simple to do. You can do it anywhere you happen to be. You just breathe in for 4 counts. You hold the breath for 7 counts. And you release for 8 counts. And by doing that 3 or 4 times in a row, you find that stress decreasing. If it has to do with a person that's putting you in this stress, think about what the issues are. Maybe it's your kids. And maybe you could take a vacation and leave the kids with the grandparents or something like that. Everybody needs a break. As much as we love our children, everybody needs a break. What we eat and our exercise plays a large part in this too. So let's talk about that. Here's some foods you may think about getting into your diet to help you with stress and fatigue that may create physical feelings such as impaired memory, sore throat, muscle or joint pain, headaches, and other maladies. So, as we often recommend on this show, and many doctors recommend, decreasing your protein intake so that approximately 10% of your daily calories comes from protein. Now, right now, we live in a boom time for plant-based products. Even in our fast food, you may have heard that Burger King is launching and has already launched and is about to go nationwide with it, Impossible Burger. This comes out of a partnership with the Impossible Burger people who've created a burger that is plant-based, and it's done really well. A lot of people have been checking it out. So there's a lot of plant-based options out there that you can take a look at. If you're one of those people who can, do things like, beans and organic fruits and vegetables and kale and things like that, well, good for you. That's a good place. Some people can't stand the taste of things like kale, and it's very hard for them to incorporate them into their diet. So you have to think of either tasty ways to cook those things, or find another way or another type of way to get that nutrition. And of course, fresh fruits and vegetables, a whole lot of them, and find different ways to keep it interesting. Now, garlic which can be smelly, of course.